What is up, Pitt fans? Thank you so much for tuning in to Inside the Panthers on YouTube. My name is Stephen Thompson coming at you with another Inside Pitt practice report. It is December 1st. We're still a couple days away from the Pitt Panthers ACC opener at the Peterson Event Center. The Panthers will host Clemson for their first conference contest of the year. It's a big game. I think I remember the last time that Clemson came to that building, their lone meeting with the Panthers last year. It ended in a 1-point game. It was battle for first place in the ACC. A ton of real juice in the Peterson Event Center for really the first time for that season, and you can kind of see the home court advantage start to come back, and it just felt like a big game. It had a big game feel to it, and for really the first time last season. So excited to see what this game looks like. The Panthers obviously kind of on a downswing a little bit over the past three games, but still feels like there should be some hype around this team and some juice going into this game against the Tigers. So we're going to preview that game. Like I said, it's a big one. The Panthers really have a chance to get back on track, but they're also facing a really good team. So let's dive into three of the biggest things that I'm looking at as the Panthers host Clemson, a team kind of on the verge of cracking that top 25, especially after a big win over Alabama in the ACC SEC Challenge earlier this week. But the first thing I'm kind of looking at is the front court. Obviously with PJ Hall coming into this game, he's averaging north of 21 points per game. And forgive me, I'm looking up my stats right now, but 21 points per game, 7.5 rebounds as well. This is a guy that really makes an impact basically all over the floor. He's kind of a prototypical college big man, but he can do a lot of different things. He can stretch out and shoot the ball. He's dominant on the inside. The Panthers are really going to have their hands full, especially considering the way that the front court has played over the past few games, all those games against Power 5 opponents. I've not been particularly impressed with Federico, starting center, especially over these past three games. I feel like the athleticism and the power of this group really popped when the Panthers were facing, some mid-major teams, some teams that they were definitely bigger, faster, stronger than. And those same kind of advantages have not really been apparent over their past three games. I don't think Federico has looked very good going to the rim. He hasn't been particularly strong around the basket, but he hasn't been the shot blocker that he was through those first four games. And on the other hand, I like the Twins, but that added weight that they've got really hasn't translated on the court in the same way as, like I said, there's kind of the same difference between the way they played against those four mid-major teams versus they've done against Florida and Oregon State and now Missouri. There just hasn't been the same kind of force in a team that was really able to rely on kind of these nuclear deterrents, these 7-footers on the back end to block shots and to clean up. When the Panthers got beat off the dribble, it just hasn't existed in the same way as the competition and the level of athleticism from their opponents takes a step up. It's a little concerning. Even in the last game against Missouri, Jeff Capel in his closing lineup, the group that really spent the last bulk of the game on the floor, it consisted of Guillermo Diaz-Graham instead of Federico. And well, I don't think that indicates a full-on lineup change is coming. Capel did say that they weren't getting enough from Federico around the rim. They wanted to add some spacing, especially given the 7'5" center that Missouri played most of the second half with. They thought they could pull him out with, by subbing Guillermo Diaz-Graham in and, putting another shooter on the floor that hopefully, made Vanover come out and defend him and get him out of the paint, make it a little easier on those guards and Blake Hinson, who were driving to the bucket. Didn't actually play out that way. The Panthers just didn't have enough offense, and they weren't really able to affect the game enough moving forward. But to really make that lineup change really stick. But I don't think there's a full on lineup change coming. But I do think you need the bigs to be much better, or else this team is really not going to be able to survive ACC play, much less this game in particular against Hall, who's an all ACC caliber guy. I believe he was first team all ACC in the preseason, likely going to end the season that way as well. So they're really going to have their hands full, and the Panthers definitely need more from that group because, if they're going to be the kind of defensive team, the team that leans on their defense, like the way I thought they were, the team that they were when, in their 5 wins really all this season, they're going to need that back end to be much better than it has been. They need to rebound better. They need to block shots more. They need to hold their own just in the paint, and they need to be stronger with the ball as well on the offensive end. So it's one of the biggest things I'm looking at. Also on the defensive end, you can look at the backcourt as well. The Tigers are really one of the better three-point shooting teams in America. They're in the top third of Division One in three-point rate, in just in terms of how many threes they actually shoot, and they make those triples at the fifth highest rate in America. They shoot north of 40%, I believe, as a team. Yep, 41.5%. But on the other end, I mean, Pitt has been, in pretty striking contrast to what they've been for most of the Jeff Capel era. They are a really good, they are really good defense at defending the 3-point line. Pitt has forced their opponents into the 231st most 3-pointers in America. That is definitely in the bottom third, I believe. There are only about 160 roughly teams in Division One. So 231st most 3-pointer shot against Pitt. And that's for good reason. The Panthers are holding their opponents to just 25.5% shooting from deep. That's the 13th best mark in college basketball. I mean, the Tigers have 6 guys or 8 players who shoot more than one triple per game, and 6 of them are shooting 40% better on those shots. That top 3 of Joe Girard, Chase Hunter, and PJ Hall, they all shoot 4 or more threes a game, and they make 41% of them. I mean, it's bombs away for the Tigers from 3-point range, and it'll be kind of a cool strength on strength matchup that the Panthers will have to deal with. I mean, they've done pretty well individually against these guys in the past, but all of them together, it just stresses the defense in a way that is going to make it really imperative for Ish Leggett and Bub Carrington, Jalen Lowe, but even Zach Austin and Will Jeffress and Blake Hinson, and then whoever ends up guarding the 6'10 Hall, to be able to step out and be mobile, be versatile, defend both the inside and the outside. Obviously something that the Panthers have done well so far this season, but this is a different challenge, and that's kind of a theme that we're going to hit on a couple different times until the Panthers really find a way to pull away and beat one of these quality Power 5 teams, these high major teams, is that they are going to have to do what they did in those first 4 games, but they're going to have to do it against a better opponent. So watch the 3-point line, but you also got to watch PJ Hall and the way the Panthers defend the interior. And the last thing I kind of want to hit on, I mean, I talked at the start of this video just about what the atmosphere was like walking into the Pete on game day the last time Pitt played Clemson. I mean, Clemson's not a marquee opponent, but they were really good going into this game last year, and they ended the year pretty well as well. I thought they were a team that should have made the NCAA tournament, didn't work out that way. But last year, this was a clash between 2 of the best teams in the ACC at the time. Believe it was even a battle for first place in the conference. My dad was in town. I had some family in town, some friends, and I was getting lunch with them before the game, just in Oakland, like down the hill, and it was crazy to watch, some of the businesses, the bars and restaurants fill up with people before that game. And it was the first time I can really remember that season. I mean, even independent from the West Virginia game, which is just, that's the backyard brawl. That's going to create hype all its own. But that Clemson game last year, I felt like was really the first time that uh, the fan base really rallied around this team and recognized that this team could be good. It came on the heels of the Virginia win and the North Carolina win, which were huge landmark wins for this team last year. And you can kind of expand that to say for the program as a whole in recent history. And it led into this game with Clemson, which it really was played like a heavyweight fight. It ended up a 1-point game that Clemson won. It went down to the final seconds. And I don't think we'll get that same kind of energy this time. I mean, these 2 teams kind of enter this game on 2 different trajectories. The Tigers are undefeated. They're 6-0, just came off a huge come from behind win over Alabama, and they're really riding high and feeling themselves. But meanwhile, Panthers, who have lost 2 of 3 to their first 3 Power 5 opponents of the year, there's just a different vibe. I feel like there's a little bit of anxiety on the Panthers side. Just you need to kind of prove that you can beat a team like this. While the Tigers, I think, are really confident coming in here. They've really played well enough to earn that, while the Panthers really need to prove themselves on this stage. So I think these 2 teams are kind of entering from 2 different places in the kind of story of their season. But it all kind of combines to create a really compelling matchup in my mind. Independent of all the basketball stuff, the actual matchups, the X's and O's are going to be really interesting. But I think just kind of narratively, you come into this game, if you're these 2 teams from kind of polar opposite ways, and it should make for a really interesting game, a game that two teams I feel like desperately want to win, get out on the right foot. Just kind of occupy that first place spot in the ACC rankings for a little longer while you wrap up the non-conference slate, and then you hit the end of December, you go into January. You can walk in there as the top team in the ACC. You get to enjoy that for a couple weeks if you win this game. So big one at the Pete this weekend. There are probably a couple more big ones before it. The Panthers playing on a Sunday instead of a Saturday to make room for the NCAA volleyball tournament at the Pete this weekend. The Panthers are hosting. I would encourage you to absolutely bump out to the Pete and check out the women's volleyball team. They're a lot of fun to watch. The sport is a lot of fun to watch, and they could certainly use your support. So definitely do that. Get out to the Pete on Sunday as well and make it a full Pitt sports weekend. But appreciate y'all tuning into this video. Looking forward to this Clemson game a lot. I'll see you afterwards for a live stream where we'll recap the game. So I hope you'll join. Oh, actually, I misspoke. I will not be at the Pete this weekend. We are going to have someone, our intern, Jack Markowski. You guys will love him. He's a great guy, a really good young reporter. He'll be covering the game for us while I am at Steelers Cardinals at Acrisure Stadium on the other side of town. Two great games. Hope you pop out to the Pete for the Pitt game, but if not, I'll have all your Steelers coverage for you. Either way, I'll see you sometime this weekend to give you your full slate of Pittsburgh sports coverage. But until then, I appreciate y'all tuning into this video. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to us on YouTube. That's youtube.com/@InsideThePanthers, and follow our reporting at InsideThePanthers.com, and check us out at AllSteelers.com as well for your Steelers coverage from this weekend. Like I said, appreciate y'all tuning in, and I will see